Hello, everyone. I am Matthew O'Connor, and we are reporting on the Scrabble Players Championship 2025. We
Day
are
one.
in. We are reporting. The event is at Maryland Live Hotel, suburban Baltimore, near the Baltimore Washington International Airport. I am Matthew O'Connor. This is my analyst, Neil Gann. Neil, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Coming in from Providence, Rhode Island here. Excited for today.
We are going to do over the course of the next 5 days, we are going to do 28 preliminary rounds of CSW only. If you want NWL, you will go to NASPA, their YouTube channel, but this stream is for CSW. We've got 28 preliminary rounds, and then we have a best of five finals between the top two finishers in the first 28 rounds. It's going to be a lot of action. We've got some solid players. We've got champions of different events. We've got the reigning champion, Josh Castellano, and we have lots of longtime experts. It should be a fun event. Neil, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Shall we introduce
First
the...
round. Our first round is going to be David Whitley, a longtime expert from Los Angeles area, and Mina Lee. Mina currently lives in Stamford, Connecticut. She is originally from the Twin Cities region of Minnesota. Neil, what do you know about these two?
Well, both of them came onto the scene about the same time and have reached expert status since then. David Whitley, as Matt says, longtime Collins expert. Mina has many years of Collins play under her belt as well, has switched between the lexicons a couple
Yeah.
times right now. Happy
If
to see
you
her in Collins today.
And if you watched Jeopardy during the COVID lockdowns, you might think Mina is a familiar face. She was on Jeopardy on April 28th, 2020, I believe. So if you recognize that face, it might be from Jeopardy. She is a surgeon. She operates mostly in the neck region and removes cancerous tumors.
All right, well, let's go to the board. Looks like the players are ready. David is up first and drawing.
Right, it looks like we are off. David is drawing his tiles. All right, what do we got? We got a G. Oh, he's got something on the floor. GVR. Ooh, we've got the Z. All right, well, I see the word vigor. That seems like a decent choice. It sets up the Z to make Zo, but you can also play the Z right away and play visor. What do you think, Neil?
Well, between those, I would say Vigor. I rather like keeping the Z back, especially because Vigor happens to set it up. Does take a back O, but that's not a huge deal here, I don't think. What do you
Yeah,
think, Matt?
especially sometimes if Mina plays the O, it's a word like book, and it leaves Zo and Zo. Anyways, let's see what David's gonna do. He is putting the Z down. He's going to play Visor. That is another good choice. And the simulation I run loves this. So, very nice choice. Mina is left with a little bit of a clunky rack. She's got ILMNUTT. Neil, what do you think?
Well, I see, for example, something above Visor
There is
being
actually a bingo here.
there's a oh
There's a
yeah.
bingo here. It's not too crazy of a word. It is not a super common word, but I think it might be gettable for people in the chat. Yeah, we see Matthew Tunnicliffe shouting it out, multi-ton. That's a very nice word to know.
Let's see. Looks like Mina is shuffling, looking for bingos.
That is not a word that got deleted. That is a slur. Notably, though, it still takes ed, er, and ing as inflections. But this is not a word. It got deleted from the dictionary. Uh, but it appears she is getting away with it. So this will be interesting if an S comes on. We'll see if people snap into it and realize that this got deleted. Um, but David Whitley is left with some good and some bad. He's got the WU combo, but he has an S, so he can play something like Dow underneath Visor, and he can get rid of the W and keep the U. It doesn't look like there's a great way to get rid of both right now, and Dow scores a lot.
Yeah, in this situation, I would probably lean toward taking the points and seeing if my S can develop a bit more on the board. What do you think, Matt?
Well, so we're in an interesting spot. The sim might not be accurate because if I had to guess, both players are going to put their S down and pluralize the deleted word.
Right.
But the sim is going to think you can't go there. But I'm going to guess, since it wasn't challenged, that they can get away with it. But we will see. David Whitley is putting down Dow, which seems to be the best option. Mina is left with a pretty ugly combination. Niel, would you rather exchange or fight through this one?
Well, I would probably play through, given I have a way of getting rid of my doubled U's and I's without. Um, I guess the only problem is that this play of Lewitt would open a S hook and B, hook that I would not have.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Mina's head there's already an S hook, so she's not necessarily probably not thinking that way because she has she probably thinks there's an S hook there already. But
Right.
I do think Lewitt is probably just barely worth it, and yeah, I think this is one of those spots where you just have to suck it up and play through because 16 is good. There's not a great combo on your rack. IRT is probably the best if you're going to exchange, but it's still not great. That's one of the things we've discovered with the new Magpie leaves is that a lot of these bingo leaves that consist of one pointers are not great unless they produce a ton of bingos. But Mina's going to do Ulu for 9 points. Good way of getting rid of both of the U's. Now, David Whitley with another kind of ugly rack, but this time he has two S's, which is nice. So he can play something like Scoug underneath Mo. He can pluralize Ulu and play Vugs. He's got a couple different ways to go. The big thing here is he should probably get rid of his one of his S's because he's got two, and the obvious scoring spots all involve pluralizing something. So he's going to do Vugs pretty quickly.
This looks pretty reasonable to me. It does leave a
Yeah,
relatively easy spot to hit for Mina, but it might not be easy to close everything.
yeah, I think this is a great choice. Mina's left with a more attractive rack this time. Not quite a bingo though, I don't think. That L is pretty close to setting up literati, but it's not there. Uh, there's a couple different ways she can go though, because she can actually play a tire forming Utah, which is 24, which is nice. She can also do something like Ita and Tut and Al. So she's kind of got a couple different ways to go here. She could even play off an I for just 3 points. So that would be very aggressive, Neil. What are you thinking here?
I guess at this scoreline, I'm in Mina's position down a good bit and looking to bingo soon, so I would probably lean toward one of the fishier options that ideally keeps a place for me to actually get that bingo down. What do you think, Matt?
That's great thinking. Yeah, one of the good things about this position for Mina is that she has an A, and Mo takes back A. So even if she plays Ita and kind of kills that area, she has a few things. She has the newly formed line hooking the I, and she has the Mawa hook. So she'll have a few options.
And the sim does seem to prefer a shorter play here. One of the options is playing immediately with Moa, another playing Ita as suggested. Those
Yeah.
are in the same ballpark.
Yeah, I think the play of 8 and Mawa has a lot of merit to it. It sets up some lanes that are harder to deal with because if you if you open, oh, she's playing that is MOWT is not a word, although it does take a front A to make a
I'm
mount.
out. Yep.
Yeah, this is also not a word. See, yeah, she's putting it down. Let's see if David Whitley is gonna challenge. Looking at it, kind of funny. But Mina's got her hand in the bag. It looks like she's gonna get away with this one. Yeah, she got away with
Wow.
this one too. So good for her. This is definitely the best play if it stays on. So nice job, Mina.
And keep in
David,
mind this is 5 point challenge, so Mina. Never let it be said that you cannot get away with phonies in 5 point challenge.
yeah, David Whitley with a really nice rack. There's actually only one place to bingo, and he needs to notice that this phony word takes a front S to make smout.
I think that could be a bit of a tough spot, especially if you're not used to looking for the hooks of a word that
It's not
does
a
not
word.
exist. Yes.
Yeah, there's three bingos and they're all COO blank IES. He can choose to make the blank AK to play cookies. He can choose to make the blank an R to play queries, and he can choose to make the blank AT to play cooties. If he doesn't see that, his options are not great. The best one might be L8 cozy. That's one of the things when we have a blank, we like to score, we like to maybe err on the side of scoring because the blank will often bail you out. So the S is worth a little bit less when you have the blank because you will often get bailed out and be able to put some sort of bingo down. So,
Right.
barring finding the bingo, I like cozy and attires because David Whitley can go the route of trying to score something here and then bingoing next turn. What do you like, Neil?
Well, I think we should also consider some of the fishier options in this position. Although, again, it depends partially on David's seeing that smout hook, because if he does not, somewhat fewer of his fishes may hit. So I'm perfectly happy with Cozy here. It's the
Yeah,
only it's the only choice that keeps the scoring pressure on if you do not see your bingos, which are tough spots.
yeah, that is true. It will put him up 70, no, 65, which is about a bingo, and he'll have the blank. So he'll still be in pretty good shape even if he doesn't see this smout hook. David is going through the alphabet. I'm gonna guess he has not seen Smout, and he's trying to rack his brain for something with maybe the V, maybe something forming a tires, maybe something on top of ut. Tricky spot, especially given that he is trying to hook something that is not a word.
Now, Matt, in general, how long would you recommend spending going through the alphabet in a spot like this?
Well, I think it depends on a lot of things. It depends on how long it takes you to get through the pre-end game. It depends on how confident you are. You can blitz it out. The less. Oh, there we go. Very nice. He is
Very
gonna.
nice.
We are gonna hear what the blank is very soon. I think we're gonna get shown it. Uh,
Blink cam.
you have the blank cam. I don't know if you can see it in the chat, but we can see that he is making the blanket K to play cookies. Probably wise it takes the fewest hooks while he's taking a lead. So, and
Oh,
Mina
looks like a
Mina
challenge.
has challenged, so he will get 5 bonus points. So the score will now be 176-61. And thank you, Art Moore, for the challenge cam. That's what we use at Let's Play Scrabble events. If you saw it a few weeks ago in Albany, the challenge cam, which is great. Now Mina is down 61 to 176, and she's got some vowels. Unfortunately, Neil, what goes through your head in spots like this? How do you come up with a way to come back?
Well, I guess one thing that is going for me is that cookies opened some lanes that even if you're addressing the triple, you're often opening a new lane. I do have two of the hooks to a tire. Board is not dead yet, so I would think about staying within range on the score line. Probably not doing anything too desperate yet, as it is possible for me to keep some of those hooks, but it is getting a little tough at this score. I probably, after, even after bingo, I'll still be down.
Yes, and Mina is going to play Chow, which sets her up with another lane for sevens and one that takes a lot of things. So she's probably trying to put a bingo to the right of Chow on her next turn if she can draw one.
And possibly on column, what's this one? Column L.
Yeah, this time David Whitley is likely to play something like farinha in the B column. That is, I believe, the Portuguese word for flower, and flower being like crushed grain, not like a rose. There's other options though. He could play something like FAA underneath a tire if he wants to be aggressive and set up his N. Mina with a nice rack, but not quite a bingo. And David, what is David gonna do?
I do think that the B column right now is the most flexible one and hard to block without playing down from next to that
Yeah,
O, as Zoa doesn't take anything.
I think
Um,
this is a good spot to talk about how it might look scary setting up the triple, but David Whitley's actually quite far ahead, and his biggest worry is a bingo. So the 30, 40 points that maybe Mina will get on the A column to the left of Farina, not a huge deal, and it's less likely she has a high point tile because she just played Chow. There's a good chance if she had a high point tile that it would have gone onto the board last turn. So something like Farina is actually pretty nice because it works kind of towards shutting down the entire bottom left of the board, and that's what we're going to see.
oh,
Oh,
looks
we're going to
like
see
we
Fa.
actually, yep.
Yeah,
This
Fa.
is probably a little bit back. It does keep a stronger leave and requires slightly more specific tiles to hit that A column, but Farina is a lot of points. It should be
Mina.
mentioned.
Mina
Was
with
also a really
seven.
lovely option of Farang on David's turn.
Mina with no sevens, but if you can look through the V, if you love people like Greg Louganis, you might love this word. If you're surprised that I am old enough to know who that is, I get lots of cultural references. Thank you very much. But Mina left with one bingo, and that is nosedive. The only bingo. I wouldn't call fa defensive since it opens up another S hook and then opens up the triple and stuff. But yeah, I don't think it's enough points. If you're gonna play fa, it should probably be the one under a tire. But yeah,
Right.
nosedive. Nosedive is Mina's only bingo. If she can spot that, she will have a good shot. Now, Chad, I want your best gut instinct. What do you think Mina's win percentage is after nosedive, according to the simulation I am running? I want to hear you in the chat. What do you think Mina's win percentage is if she were to have played nosedive? I am just curious what people's gut instinct is in this spot. Probably around 40%. No, 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 no. It is 15%. It's still a pretty desperate spot given that she will be behind and it will not be her turn.
Although with the blank on her rack, things are looking like they'll develop into a bingo very shortly.
Yes. Now Mina has lots of options, especially given that out takes a front D and S, which are both on her rack, as well as a G. Yes, Mina would have been at about 15% after nosedive. It is a tricky spot to be in when it is not your turn. David Whitley, probably Apian to the left of Fa is the best. It scores the most that he can get here. He's gonna play Pan and try to keep his leave a little bit more together. Neil, what do you think about Pan?
I think in this position I do somewhat prefer taking the points with Apian. Um,
I think I
or
like that idea. Um, another way to get over the finish line is to just keep scoring 30 every turn and hope that Mina's bingos aren't enough anyways, Mina's best scoring bingos now are probably going to form a tired and pain. One of them is desking, one of them is designs. That's a nice hook. The ones that put one pointers and not the blank in the area that is counting twice. Those will score 83 points, and she will be behind by 35 if she can spot one of them. She's got seeding spelled out, however, which would probably play with fa. How do you get through the alphabet when you have a rack like this? You have so many choices, but you only have three that score the most.
I mean, oftentimes it can help to start by checking the highest scoring
Yeah.
places, and that narrows down what letters can go where.
And Mina in that spot had one of her three 83 pointers. If she could get the D and the G in the parallel area, she would score more. She would have scored 83 with edgings. That would have been a few more points than the play of seeding. Very important when you have these racks, however, to just put something down because you don't want to spend 15 minutes looking for the best play and then have no time for the end game. So I'm happy she got something down and she can preserve her time for the future. Now, David Whitley has an interesting choice because the highest scoring play is a Bryn to the left of Fa, but that G is looking awful scary in the triple triple. How do you decide? What to do here when there's several spots that look threatening, Neil?
Well, I would look for one thing at the pool, and the fact that Mina just drew 7 random tiles, making it somewhat less likely that she immediately bingos. Another thing to note here is not only is the G not the easiest tile to immediately hit, but also the pool has one N and 3 Is, making ING less likely, although AGE, that kind of thing, certainly still available. I would probably not be too afraid of the open triple and keep scoring, keep balancing my rack, because the scoreline is now such that if Mina does get another bingo down, I could be in trouble.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's not just bingos that are a threat. Mina could also have something like Axite to the left of Fa. She could have AJIES. And if she has something like that, she's getting a bingo score. So you have to think about blocking both areas. And I think a Bryn is a great choice. Mina with EEFIKTT. So she's going to have a few options. And David Whitley is playing Bearing. So he is worried about the triple. I think this is a pretty solid choice.
Agreed.
It's hard to go terribly wrong here as long as you score some. Mina has the very nice fit. She has one word that scores 43 points to the right of Fa. It is a word that I challenged the plural of a few weeks ago on stream, if you remember that.
And I think this is a standout play here. 40, 41 points matters a lot at this score line.
Yes, that is true. She can get to down 27, which is not quite enough, but she is going to be able to get back into the game with a couple nice scores. She might not need a bingo at this point if she can get a couple of nice scores, especially with David Whitley is probably going to be stuck playing QI for 22, which means if Mina can find fit, she could
Which
then
she
go to
does.
the left of Fa and have
Although
a 1 2.
David actually has something much better than QI for 22. And he is playing it quickly, as he should.
Very nice. Mina has also set herself up if she can draw it with a hook. She can try to draw fitter. She could try to draw fitted. So she's giving herself a decent bingo lane to work with, which is another way for her to come back. David playing Quay, he could get in consonant trouble. We will see what he draws. This is one of those racks that could go really well or really badly, depending on what he draws.
Looks like
No.
Mina has one of those in between racks here with pretty flexible scoring tiles and good vowels, but not quite a bingo and nothing, no huge scores on offer. So she will probably be thinking positionally here.
Yeah, this is one of those annoying racks where I want there to be something starting with like KH or something on the triple, but the best play on the triple is probably Hella for 33.
And I'm not sure that I would play something like Hella here, given that obstructs my fitted, fitter, fits hook, and it doesn't keep my most bingo E leave, and I almost certainly will need a bingo and some scoring, or possibly.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things here is that if David uses the triple, it makes fitter and fitted a more annoying to block. It doesn't. It obstructs it a little, but it does make it more annoying to kill completely. You might have to make a low scoring play to kill it, and he's probably not going to want to do that. So that might make me a little more likely to ignore it and use the triple on the top right for something like Alki. Maybe Lakey is more likely to set up a bingo lane that you can kind of sit on and see if it just sits there and you eventually hit something ending in L, and that's what Mina's going to do.
David does have some consonant trouble, but it looks like he might be getting bailed out of it with some pretty good scoring options. What do you think, Matt?
Yes, one interesting option here is to play Glent to the left of Fa and say, hey, I can wait one turn on the X. I can draw something like Docs on top of cookies later, and just to say, hey, there are ways for Mina to come back immediately to the left of Fit. I'm going to play Glent to take it. But Detox is a lot of points. It's 42. LNG is a little bit risky, though. I think I like Glent personally. David Whitley's going with Detox, which is another good option. It obstructs the lane formed on top of Out, which is really nice. Mina can no longer put sevens there. And Mina with While and Hole as her likely best choices. She is going to quickly play While. David Whitley appears to be getting in consonant trouble. Oh, he's got one vowel. So he has some options to work with. He's not in the worst situation. He's got a few choices. A lot of them will involve the area on the top left. It might be nice to put some tiles there to eventually work towards kind of occupying the entire top left in a way that makes it hard to ever do anything. That's what's known as exhaustion. If you can get the board in that state, it's hard for your opponent to do anything. But he also has choices on the bottom right, such as Glimed. Niel, how do you think through these situations? There's kind of a few threats here and there. You have to avoid the bingos, and they can kind of appear anywhere. You have to think about scoring too. So, how do you get through this situation, Niel?
I mean, pretty similar to what you've said. I would usually look at the lanes available and how compatible they are with the tiles in the pool. In this situation, I might decide that the E of Detox is the most flexible threat for Mina compared to something that has to start with the R or S or E. That said, a lot of this evaluation depends on your word and knowledge and board sense. So,
Yeah, this is one of those situations where, if I had an O instead of an E, for instance, I would think Dom to the left of Fit is a standout play. It scores as well as you're going to get, and it blocks the biggest lane. But we just don't have that, so we're going to look towards blocking maybe a mid-level threat, and that's what David Whitley is doing with Gled. My sim actually likes Glenn in the same spot for 14. Sim thinks it's important to keep the D, maybe to work with fitted, but this is not a bad choice by any means.
yeah, those little details of which letter to keep the leave can become very situational, especially as the pool dwindles, and we are seeing an example of that here.
One of the things we're finding with Magpie is that the D is an excellent tile. It forms a lot of hooks because it's the past tense letter and it is in a lot of words. And importantly, it is worth 2 points instead of one, which a lot of the bingo tiles are worth. So, in my experience running Sims while I practice Scrabble, I've noticed a lot of sacrifices that keep the D and maybe score two less than something that keeps the N or the R. They end up doing really well because the D is a very flexible tile. So Mina's in one of those annoying spots where she not quite has a bingo. She has to be careful in order to keep a bingo leave. She's going to play Peak to set up another lane, but I worry that ABNO is not going to become a bingo in time. David Whitley with EEMNRRY. He has to decide what the most likely bingo lane is and how do I block it. He doesn't have great choices that block Fitter because remember, it's not up by that much. He can't afford to make a 5 point blocking play. He has to score some while he does something. So he has to be thinking, hey, where else are the bingos? So if I was in this situation, I would look through the bag and I would probably come up with the I and seating because I would see stuff like chainers and then I would basically look through and say, "Hey, do I need to block this? What could Mina have?" She does have a few options. She also has things like joiner, which could get annoying because she's only down 19. Neil, what would you be thinking of here?
Well, I do think that. So there's 5 tiles in the bag. I think David has a nice play that does obscure fitter fits while scoring and even setting up one of his own tiles. I looking at this pool would probably simply concede anything from the P or to the L. I'm not even sure if there's something there to the L, but the play of Mirror alongside Fit on column D looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I like that idea. It turns a bingo lane into a little bit less of one. My sim likes M9 Miny, Meiiny, the best, which obstructs some bingos and makes it harder to score. And maybe if Mina bingos, you can hit the J on the triple and still win. But David Whitley's going with my. I like the idea. I do worry that he gets into 1 pointer trouble and gets outrun in the end game sometimes. And Mina's actually in a pretty brutally tough spot because she probably needs to bingo, but there's also probably a way to maybe fight through it. Um, Neil, what would you be thinking of here? Are you just going the fishing route because of the score?
I mean, I'd have to think about pretty specific things I'm fishing for at this point that play into parts of the board. I think I would also look briefly at J spots. I don't have it. If there was a chance that I could threaten something in a couple places while drawing it, I would consider that, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It doesn't look like I have too much hope of outscoring, especially given 3 tiles in the bag. Hard to go out in two, so I will be looking at fishing in this position in most cases. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the right idea. It's going to be tough without drawing a bingo because you are down 46, but maybe is there a way to fish for the J instead of a bingo. That might be an interesting idea. Mina is playing Dob, which is Australian slang for to snitch on somebody. They say we're gonna dob you in when they call the cops on you. Um, so it is a verb.
And this does give her pretty decent chances of drawing something. The question is whether it's something that David can address or not.
Yeah, I do wonder can David pull something off? Can he play something like Reb because he has all the remaining E's? Something like Reb block everything.
Almost cojones for Mina, which would not play in two spots, but would be fun.
Yeah. And just for the curiosity of people, I am running a pre-end game, an exhaustive pre-end game for Mina on Macondo. If you don't know Macondo, it is actually made by Mina's husband, Cesar Del Solar, and it's a great piece of software. Fixes a lot of the issues with Quackle. Most notably, it has an exhaustive pre-end game. So I'm running the exhaustive pre-end game on all of the bag emptying plays, which is something that can be done in real time. So I can tell you the best bag emptying play, and it appears something like noob through the N is gonna would have given Mina a solid chance. Mina could have gotten herself to 35% by playing Doob on top of Gled. She would basically win as long as she drew specific racks that gave her a bingo in two spots, and there were a few of them. So that would have been a great choice. She could have drawn things like EER, I believe.
So, what would you be thinking from David's perspective here, Matt?
This is a tricky spot. The thing that's important to note is that you can't go crazy making 5 point plays that block everything. It is close enough that with the J, you could get in trouble if you get super paranoid and just block, block, block. So I would be looking at something like Reen, and I would be happy, but I would be a little bit worried because I know if the J is in the bag, Mina has Racinos or Saronic or Aircons. David will be playing it there, which I believe is airtight. If he draws the J, I can't quite see it. I think that might block everything if he draws the J, so that's a good idea. I just get a little worried about the score. Let's see. And computer analysis confirms that Reen does not win if David Whitley draws the J.
Although in this case, he did block.
It's because it does not quite block. It's because it does not quite block Saronic. There's also Parsonic. So I think you just have to accept your fate if the J is in the bag, and then after that you can kind of do whatever. As long as it scores enough, you will win 7 out of 8. Now Mina is with the J.
And she had Jacobins.
You managed to block Jacobins, which is really nice. So anything in that area is probably good to win 7 out of 8 as long as it does not block too much. Or sorry, as long as it does not score so little that you get outrun by something with the J. Basically, in those positions, you have to find the most volatile spot and block it and just make sure it outruns. Like in this case, it happens to be the bottom right because of Jacobins and Racino's Saronic air cons. In an alternative universe, it could even be maybe the P because some words start with P, and you just have to kind of go through the 8 possibilities that come from the unseen tile pool and see which one sets up the most, which one sets up the least. So it's good to see that David Whitley saw Jacobins and managed to block it. I was a bit worried that he was going to play Reen to the right and leave some bingos open if Mina saw Jacobins that time. Whitley may have lost.
But yes, this is kind of what I was hinting at earlier with possibly setting up to need to concede bingos from the P depending on the pool. And I think that is how it shaped up. Now, in terms of endgame here, what is Mina going through? She's most likely thinking about ways to first seeing if David has an out. If he does, she's gonna try to block it. If he doesn't, she's gonna try to set up her best out in 2, making sure she can get rid of and ideally score with her J or this combination of tiles.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a great choice for the J. I'm wondering if maybe it's best to just play like Joe and Pizzo.
If this were German, I think David would have an out. I'm not seeing one for him.
Yeah, go for broke with Pizzo. That would be fun. Mina's gonna do Job, which sets up Canes underneath. That's a solid choice. And computer analysis says that Mina's best end game would have been Sonic forming Watts and TO and EN to the right of Fitz. It would have lost her the game by 20. Job is not a great choice because it sets up High Re, which is a very nice fit by Whitley. Actually, would have been his best play anyways, and Job just makes it score more. Mina is probably in short order going to put down her best scoring outplay of Canes.
Probably just taking a moment to make sure there aren't any great overlaps, but I think this will come down fairly quickly.
I think so too. Final score if Mina puts down Canes will be 366 to 419. David Whitley will probably win a hard fought first game by 53 points. Yeah, after Pizzo, I think David Whitley would play Rowe maybe to set up to leave a better out. Maybe he. But solid first game. We had some opening round jitters playing one of the words that they deleted, but that happens to the best of us. Very difficult to unlearn words. And David Whitley with a nice job finding the S hook to the phony 4 Mout, which got him into the lead. And he managed to maintain that lead for the rest of
Shall
the
we
game.
cut to overhead mic, Matt? It looks like they're having a chat.
I only knew that.
Do that? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
See how quickly they discover the phonies.
And then I wasn't sure if it's because
Two phony 4s. We had some opening round jitters, but it happens to most of us. Sure, you watched me have some mistakes. If you watched me at the Poblin Superstars a few weeks ago, I had some
What?
interesting moments on stream. It can happen to anybody.
We should also keep in mind that Mina had been playing NWL for the last few tournaments before this after a hiatus, so it can also be tough to catch up on all of those updates in the media.
Mina has had two kids in the last few years and has been busy with that too.
All right, so our next matchup will be Wasim
Was-
Khatri versus
Autry.
Eric Kinderman.
Wasim is a legend in his native country of Pakistan. He has won the Pakistani nationals many times, maybe 12. He's one of their stars. He and Moyes, very nice guy, very good player. He's one of those people who is sponsored by the government of certain countries that fund Scrabble players to be Scrabble coaches as a way of helping teach people English. So he shows up to events like this and competes, and he builds a name for himself, and then he works as a Scrabble coach in his native Pakistan. Eric Kinderman is an American, but he's an expat living in Dubai, and he is a teacher. He's about 1700 rated, solid player. Do you know anything about these two, Neil?
Well, I haven't played either of them, so I am excited to see this matchup and learn a bit more. I probably am a little bit more familiar with Wasim's games given his annotations online, but we shall see.
Yes, he appears on stream quite a bit. We are going to take a brief break, maybe hit the bathroom, get a drink of water, but we will be back in a few minutes for round two. Thank you so much for coming.